I chose law because I was always the kind of person that was very good at arguing.
I was very interested in just how the world worked in general, and in particular the political and social aspects. And law is just one subject that captures all of those things.
I studied classics and I went on to law school later on. When I decided to go to law school, it was because I had an idea that it would equip me to do something worthwhile.
The reason why I like law so much is that because it's so closely related to what people do every day. Everything that we do has law behind it. Going to the shop and buying milk, that's a contract right there, and people don't realise this.
And the more I see other law schools, the more I realise how Oxford is unique in this country and unique in the world.
We get to work with really prominent legal minds, not just in tutorials where we have world-class professors, but also the people who visit because of their connections to Oxford.
It's, you might say, more theoretical than some law degrees because it's focused on going deep into the core subjects instead of trying to cover a lot of different subjects. The essential subjects that every lawyer needs to study in a law degree are contracts and torts and property law, criminal law, constitutional law, and today in Britain, European Union law. We add to that compulsory jurisprudence, which is legal philosophy, and compulsory Roman law, which is taken in the first year as a preparation for studying English and European law.
So you have to do all of that, but I'm just about now finishing that, and now I get to pick 2 options to carry through into third year.
The options are very vast, so you will basically be able to decide whether you're a public law person or a private law person over the 2 years, and then you'll be able to base your options on what you're interested in. So for instance, I'm taking tax and intellectual property.
The degree is called a BA in jurisprudence, and I've occasionally run into students who think that it's not a preparation for legal practice, when in fact it's an outstanding preparation.
We have a whole module on this jurisprudence, which I'm going to do this term, and you get to sort of pick what element of law you want to think about in depth.
The student can apply to do law with French law, or law with German law, or Spanish law, or Italian law, and then in Leiden in the Netherlands there's a program in European law. And the student who goes on this program spends their 3rd year studying German law in a German university, one of 4 universities in Germany, or French law in France, and so on.
I have, on average, I think 1 to 2 hours of tutorials a week, and my life sort of revolves around that, so I'll get set a reading list and an essay for a tutorial, and then I'll spend my week preparing for that.
I think clearly the most unique thing about studying at Oxford is the tutorial system.
The remarkable sort of upside-down, topsy-turvy teaching system where the student has to explain the subject to the professor instead of the professor explaining it to the student.
No one knew what to expect. There's about 2-3 people in the tutorial group, and then you've got your tutor. And my tutor has a fantastic poker face. He doesn't give anything away ever. And so you're saying something that you think is right, and then he'll just sit there and look at you and think, yes, that's interesting, but have you considered this?
We start off straight away with 3 essays over 2 weeks, and that's a lot to just about anyone who comes. But we adapt to that surprisingly quickly.
I got really stuck last term on this sort of one element in land law, and my land law tutor had written my book, and so I was stuck on what he was trying to say in this particular paragraph, so I could just email him, and he got back to me within 5 minutes, like explaining what he meant, and I don't think you get that like anywhere else, that you can just ask that world leader.
You have tutorials at other colleges, which I think is quite great, because it means you get to see a lot of Oxford.
I'm lucky in that I often have one-on-one tutorials, and in that way there's no evading the difficult questions in that topic.
The workload is heavy, because to become a good lawyer, to do well in the law degree, you have to read voraciously. You have to read a ton of stuff that you wouldn't read for fun, you wouldn't read on the beach or for bedtime reading. That's difficult.
I came from sort of a state school where I didn't have much attention and like I didn't know how to learn on this like flexible basis. So when I came, it was a bit of a shock, like how am I going to work like this? But I think finding that out for myself and sort of working that through has really helped me develop as a person.
One of the things that I love about Oxford is it's what you make of it. A lot of people won't get involved with extracurricular activities and it's their choice, but I'm really glad that I did lots of things like the Bar Society.
One extracurricular activity I'm involved in is doing moot court competitions. It's when you are given a hypothetical case and you have to argue the points of law before a panel of judges.
In short order, a lawyer needs to find a way to defend their point of view. And so the deep and theoretical approach to studying law in Oxford is actually really good vocational training, even though that's not the core purpose.
This is something that we're constantly reminded of by our tutors, that Oxford is very different. It's got its reputation for a reason, and you do have to work hard and maintain that reputation. So you will have to be asked to work during the holidays, and it's one of the things that you kind of have to accept, but it's all doable.
Very roughly, you could think of it as taking on a full-time job. If you work 40 hours a week on your law course, that's great.
Normally, if you end up here, you're like top in your class, so you're not used to not knowing things. So I think that's what I've developed in a way, is like really knowing that I can do something wrong and sort of build it back up again.
Everyone knows about Oxford, and I mean it's the best place to do law as well, so I thought I'll give it a go.
When we admit people, we're not looking for aggressive, outgoing people or reserved, scholarly people. We really look for students who are going to thrive on the subject, and those people are very diverse.
Everyone comes into the interview without much background knowledge about the law, and what they're really looking for is the way you think and the way you approach issues.
They just gave me like a bit of paper to go over beforehand for half an hour and sort of write notes on it, and I think it was like a bit of statute and a bit of case law, and they went in and she asked me how would I argue a case based on what I had been given, and then how would I argue the other side. So I'd never studied law before, but I think it was just testing whether you could think that way and whether you could thrive in that tutorial environment, one-on-one with somebody.
We know that the student is entering in on a difficult course without knowing exactly what it's going to be like. So it's quite important that we can see that they are thinking ahead, that they've got their head up, and that they're going to put some energy and commitment into it.
I think a lot of people take law because they think it sounds good, and I think that definitely shouldn't be the reason that you want to take it. Like, you're going to spend a lot of time with whichever degree that you study, if you choose to study at Oxford.
There was a lot of screaming. I was shrieking at the top of my voice. I couldn't believe I got in.
It doesn't matter how intelligent the student is, if they're just going to hate it, or if they don't know what they're getting into, or if they don't really want to work hard and read fast and learn to communicate, then they won't enjoy the law degree.
When I found out my A-level results, I knew that I was in for sure. But that automatically meant that we had to get our books and do summer reading.
There are more trainee barristers in this country who were trained at Oxford than at any other university. And more of the people who go into the solicitor's profession in the large London firms come from Oxford than from any other university. So it is a really good preparation for legal practice.
I think one of the strong points about the experience at Oxford is that we have very close links with prospective employers.
Well, I would like to become a lawyer. I don't know what kind of lawyer I'd still like to be.
You might say it's a training in defending your point of view. And obviously that's useful for politicians. It's actually useful for bankers. It's useful for school teachers and parole officers and policemen, policewomen.
I'm not really sure whether I want to be a lawyer actually after I leave, and I might go into other things like politics and that kind of thing.
I think a lot of people have heard about stereotypes about Oxford as long as they have been in school, but I think it's important to know that there are loads of people here who do not adhere to those stereotypes. I certainly don't.
It is always a misperception if a student thinks that Oxford has a certain sort of culture that wouldn't welcome them, because it is a very open, constantly changing, very diverse and exciting environment.
I think one thing that no one should worry about is speaking and sounding like someone who's just walked off a legal drama. No one does that in real life, and the polish that you need to be a good lawyer comes from knowing and thinking about the legal issues you encounter in the 3 years of your course here.